Hi, this is Psychology of Human Relationships, and this is Nonverbal Communication, Part 4. So we're talking about clusters. That's one of the 5 C's, you may recall. And this means that you've got combinations of gestures you're looking for to ensure greater accuracy, more validity to what you're seeing, more reliability from what you're seeing. So gestures fit together to tell a story, and that story is always moving, remember, always moving. So open hands and arms, unbuttoning a coat or collar, leaning slightly forward in a chair, removing coat or jacket, uncrossing arms or legs. You're moving from a more closed to a more openness and sincerity. Okay? Defensiveness is just the opposite. Rigidity in the body, arms and legs tightly crossed, eyes glancing or even darting around. Not holding eye contact, lips pursed, fists clenched, downward head. All those are defensiveness things that together or in part define defensiveness. Okay? Tilted head, so if someone's talking, you do this. That's an evaluation gesture as well that I failed to mention. Hand to cheek. And the leaning forward, all of that is evaluation. Those are all gestures of evaluation. Nervousness, lots of things. Jingling change, fidgeting, twitching, lip biting, fingers to mouth, fingers in mouth, hand to head, it's like my head's going to explode. Nail biting, tapping fingers rapidly. Okay? Boredom or impatience is different. That's drumming fingers slowly. Resting head like this. Foot swinging more rapidly. Brushing or picking lint repeatedly for no particular reason. Looking at your watch or clock on the wall. Looking at the door or the exit. Yawning. Those are all boredom and impatience. And then evaluation cluster, that would be tilted head. Remember that? I'm sorry. I'm going backwards. Let's talk now about lying. Okay, so lying is a really the most important cluster requirement for you to be anywhere near accurate. It's people make the mistake in thinking one thing means a person's lying, and that's not true. What's true is that when you see nervousness when someone's hearing or talking about something, when you see nervous gestures or faces or something, then that means that their anxiety went up, but we don't know why. That means that we need to pursue that area and come back around to it. If we're an interrogator, you see, if we're a therapist, it really doesn't really matter, except you knew that something about that made the person feel more anxious. That would just be a piece of information. We're not interrogators as therapists, right? So who's the best at this? Well, criminals are the best at determining who's lying and who's not. The worst? Well, parole officers are the worst. I guess that may be, and this is supposition on my part, that they get lied to all the time. And they have a hard time telling who's telling the truth and who's not, because the people who are lying to them are really good at lying. Probably not very good at it as a result of that. So here's some more basic stuff about lying. Lying requires more effort than telling the truth. You have to think about what you want to say and why you want to say what you want to say. So there's often a gap in the answer of time between when you hear a question or a topic come up and what you're going to say about it, if what you're going to say is not true. Okay, emotions are what are giving people away. Okay, but again, just having more anxiety doesn't tell us necessarily that what they're saying is a lie. Now, lying does cause more stress and anxiety for people who have a conscience. Okay, so somewhere around 5 or more % of the population really doesn't have any or a well-developed conscience, and that's kind of scary, and so in those folks, they won't show any behavior that suggests higher anxiety unless they're doing it intentionally on some item that has no particular value to throw something off in terms of the person listening to them. So So this has to be judged as a package, right? You have to know either the normal behavior for that person or a person in that situation, which is norming, yet again. And so lying is what's inconsistent for that situation. Okay? So if it's inconsistent, that means they're not being straightforward in some way, but we don't know why. We don't know why. Usually it's a timing kind of thing that you'll notice. So timing of and duration of emotional gestures are off the normal pace in response to some statement or event. The gestures will be off the words. They'll be delayed. Okay? Or the words will come in a delayed way. Either way. The gestures won't match the verbal statement. So if if somebody said, I love you, and you said, I love you, that gesture was sadness. That doesn't go with I love you. So there's something amiss there. I would need to talk about that, I guess, or at least register it, you see. Or responses that involve only mouth movements and not the rest of the face. That's someone who's trying to be very careful in controlling their facial muscles so that they're not detected in their heightened anxiety. Okay? Movement in any part of the body, usually more than one movement in response to some subject or saying something, can indicate an increased anxiety, right? And maybe a sign of lying. Closing and opening a coat, playing with a collar, picking lint, moving away, stepping back, stepping sideways, those are all indicators of greater anxiety, particularly stepping away, putting objects in between you and the person you're talking to when before you didn't. That's both a self-soothe gesture and it's as if they want to put a wall up, but all they have is this little item. Slower responses, shorter responses than are required for a question or a subject. Vocal pitch will vary. There may be mistakes in what they say, more ums and ahs, those sorts of things. A guilty person will get defensive more often than angry, and an innocent person will often get more angry than defensive. That's a rule of thumb. They will often not face the person at the moment they need to respond in some way. And in a really strange correlation, a person who is using a contraction is more likely to be truthful than a person who is not using a contraction. So instead of saying, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky, it would have been less obvious, though in and of itself it's not deeply impressive, but it would have had some impact to say, I didn't have any sexual contact or didn't have sex with Miss, so forth. So that's a little bit iffy, but possibility. So let's talk now about flirting and sexual attraction. You know that some flirting is automatic because we're an animal, a special kind of animal, but an animal nonetheless. And so some of it's typical, but we can enhance that and we can fake that. I'm not sure other animals do that. If they do, it's among the higher primates. But we flirt for a lot of different reasons. If it's intentional, to get something, a favor, to feel attractive, if it's reciprocated, that kind of thing. Okay? Males and females do this differently. Males will stick their chest out and put their hands on their waist to look bigger, to look more muscular potentially. That's a very natural one. Palms up to show I'm not a threat. Shoulder shrug, head tilt, and eyebrow flash upward. That's pretty universal. So just like this, that's a big one. A little one is, okay? I didn't flash my eyebrows on the last one. Entering personal space, pointing at your crotch. In other words, with that genital framing. I don't mean like this. I mean genital framing with the thumbs or the fingers. Foot pointing towards the person that you're interested in. and swagger, which I have none of, so I can't demonstrate to you. And then for females, yes, chest out, but that's to demonstrate that they can feed babies. Hip rolls, they'll sway and they'll put the flat of their hand on their hip. So they'll kind of move and swish from one side to the other. That's an emphasis on hips, which is a sign of the ability to bear and pass children through the birth canal. Hair touch and toss, even women with short hair will do this. Okay. Smiling, lifting the eyebrows. Slow wink. Shoulder up. Skin exposure, maybe bare shoulders. Eyes opening and closing very slowly. I probably look stupid doing this, but that's okay, I don't mind. Head tilt. Looking away slowly. Yeah. Attention to symmetry. They're getting everything just right. Higher symmetry is attractive to animals, including humans, because it indicates fewer problems during in utero development and a slightly better immune system. Object caress, as if to say, I'm nurturing this pen, I can nurture you just as easily. Self caress, so touching of the arm. And then lips pouting. I don't know how to do that. And then opening the mouth. I'm just terrible at that. But anyway, you get the point? Yeah, okay. So I want to let you know that this topic is really interesting. At the end of that PowerPoint, I have dozens of slides. You can test what you know. And I will talk to you next time. Hope you enjoyed this. Bye.